I recently faced my own suburban nightmare, and trust me, it wasn't a fire alarm or a bad Drea mitt was a crunch. A sharp, mean, final crunch that ripped through the quiet morning. I woke up before my eyes were even open. Sam already sitting up, phone glow on her face, whispering, "Cole, what is it?" I hit the blinds. There it was. A silver Mustang, front end crumpled like aluminum foil, sitting where my cedar fence had stood the night before. Splinters everywhere, engine ticking in the cold, the peaceful suburb shattered like a dropped snow globe. "We have a new lawn ornament," I said flatly, because panic doesn't solve problems. The figure that stumbled out of the driver's side was lanky, clumsy, and painfully familiar. Brad Dawson. Of course, it was Brad, the teenage terror of our little planned community, son of the HOA queen herself, Karen Dawson. He looked around, blinking like he'd just woken from a nap in someone else's nightmare, then fished out his phone. I turned to Sam. "Call 911. Single vehicle crash, property damage, disoriented driver. Facts only." She was already on it. "That's why we work. I handle analog. She runs digital." Stepping outside, the morning air was cool, damp, carrying the acrid smell of burnt rubber with a hint of sickly sweet, like a cheap air freshener. Brad leaned on his wrecked car, phone pressed to his ear. "Hey man," he mumbled. "Crazy, right?" I stopped a few feet away, crossing my arms. "Your fence." It just jumped out. No words, just the skid marks on the asphalt, deep and curved, leading right to the smoking ruin of his car and my fence. The story was written in black rubber. He'd come around the corner too fast, lost control, and my property had paid the price. He shifted nervously, and that's when Karen Dawson made her entrance, silk robe flapping, full-on suburban supervillain vibes. She ignored her son, barreling straight for me. "Maddox, what did you do?" she demanded. "Morning, Karen. Your boy just test drove my fence. It's a trap fence too close to the road. Could have been ugly. He's fine," I added, because the truth is the best armor. Sam waved from the window. Karen's face flickered panic, then rage clearly not in her script. She planted herself between me and the wreck like a human traffic cone. "You will replace every board by sundown, or I'm finding you daily," she shrieked. "Absolutely," I said. "Right after your son brings my fence back in one piece." Sam chimed from the window, cheerful as ever, waved to the cloud. "You're on our door cam, driveway cam, and Mike's ring." Karen sniffed. "You can't film me without consent." "The street's public," I said. "Your robe is a private decision." She hissed, clutching it tighter, muttering about neighborhood standards. A police cruiser rolled up, lights on, siren silent. The officer surveyed the chaos car splinters, skid marks. HOA queen, meaned asked, "What's going on here?" Karen pounced. "Officer, thank goodness. This man has an illegal trap fence. It attacked my son's car. He must pay for the damages and for his emotional distress." The cop blinked slowly, the kind of blink that says, "I've heard it all before." He turned to me. "Your property, sir?" "That's right. Woke me up 10 minutes ago," I said. Then to Brad. "And you are?" The kid mumbled, suddenly fascinated by the asphalt. The officer leaned down. "Son, have you been drinking tonight?" "No, sir," Brad said a little too quickly. The officer's nostrils flared. "I need you to come over. Simple tests." Brad reached for something in his pocket. A mint strip foil flashed. The officer snapped, "Don't put anything in your mouth." Karen swooped in with a water bottle, but the officer's hand went up like a stop sign. "Ma'am, do not interfere." Brad stumbled through the heel-toe test, nearly inventing a new dance. Meanwhile, a second officer found something inside the Mustang, nitrous oxide canisters. I couldn't help it. "So, the Mustang's been running on dessert toppings," I said, and for once, the first officer let a tiny smirk escape. Karen erupted, screeching about harassment and her poor, victimized son. The officer's voice dropped an octave. "Step back and let me do my job." Brad floundered through field sobriety, swaying, stumbling, failing. The second officer found a black burner phone, a classic, untraceable little device. The look exchange between the cops said it all. Sudden realization. By the time the tow truck arrived, yellow lights strobing the scene, Karen's rage was raw, shrill, and theatrical, but too late. The story she wanted to tell was shredded, just like my fence. I knew that burner phone was the first piece of a much bigger puzzle. Sam handed me coffee. We stared at the hole where my fence used to be. "Report in a day or two," I said. "Insurance will fight." I saved the footage. She nodded, replaying the crash clip. "No jumping fence today," she said. I managed a small, smile-at-me girl, always 3 steps ahead. A few neighbors peeked from windows, curtain twitchers enjoying the free morning entertainment. I muttered, "Karen's not going to let this go. It's not about the fancy, it's about her perfect image, her perfect son getting arrested. She'll use the HOA. She'll invent violations. A blade of grass too long, a recycling bin out an hour late, she'll bleed us dry with fines." Sam's jaw tightened. "Let her try. We have the truth, Cole. Video. Facts. Start there. We need the why and the who." The burner phone, what if it wasn't just to hide calls? Maybe it coordinated something: street racing, dedicated lines for drivers, untraceable. Sam's eyes lit up with understanding. If so, other kids were involved, other cars. That crash wasn't an accident, it was inevitable. We needed a wider view. Delivery trucks with dash cams, routine routes, if we could get footage, maybe we could see the bigger picture. Sam cross-referenced social media, found Marcus, a regular driver, explained the accident without mentioning racing, offered $100 for his dashcam footage. Afternoon, Marcus agreed. 1 coffee later, his van's footage revealed the Mustang, a black Honda, a blue Subaru, kids milling, phones out, engines screaming on a suburban street at 10 p.m. Sam grabbed the file. Marcus signed a short statement certified for court. "They treat this place like a track," he said. The burner's pings pointed at the clubhouse. A week later, a thick HOA letter arrived. Karen wasn't subtle, stapled it to my mailbox like a sheriff in a spaghetti western, threatening daily fines, alerting the community forum, painting me as a public menace. Sam uploaded the crash clip, started a poll. Did the fence jump? Options: no, and also no. Landslide votes within minutes. Karen responded with 16 exclamation points. Sam pinned the police report below like a name tag. Thursday night, the HOA convened in the clubhouse beige, soulless, folding chairs, stale coffee smell. Irony at its finest. The same building suspected as the kids racing HQ. As I sat back, coffee in hand, I realized the suburban stage was set. Karen's image versus reality, my fence versus her son, and the question lingering over all of us: what else would that burner phone reveal? And that, my friends, was just the beginning. So tell me, would you have done if your fence got hit? The HOA president showed up in silk, and her kid was busted on nitrous? Comment below, share your thoughts on justice, and let's see which side of the suburban war you'd take. The meeting started with the usual hum of bored neighbors shuffling papers, whispering to each other like school kids passing notes. Karen Dawson, of course, had commandeered the podium immediately, her voice bouncing off the beige walls like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. "This community will not tolerate reckless behavior," she shouted, eyes sweeping the room, landing on anyone who dared to blink at her. You could practically hear the echo of her son's Mustang crashing in her tone. I stay near the back, Sam beside me, laptop open, screen showing the dash cam footage for Marcus. The little silver Mustang blazing down the street, headlights cutting through the darkness, tires squealing, Brad and his friends laughing like maniacs. It was all there, undeniable. And when the footage switched to the clubhouse parking lot, you could see the cluster of cars, phones flashing, kids gesturing, maps sprawled across hoods. Sam whispered, "They're coordinating. This is bigger than just your fence." Yeah, I knew. That burner phone wasn't just a kid hiding calls from his mom, it was the hub. Karen was now waving her hands like she was conducting an orchestra, throwing HOA bylaws and community safety around like confetti. This fence is illegal, a menace. I demand immediate removal and full compensation. She glanced at me, expecting fear. I just leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee, letting her steam build. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Marcus, the delivery driver, stood up in the back of the room. Quiet guy, never spoke before. I have dashcam footage that shows what really happened last night, he said, holding up the thumb drive like a shield. Heads turned. Karen froze mid-sentence. She didn't expect an outsider to speak up, certainly not to undermine her narrative. The video played on the projector, big and bright. There was the Mustang, the black Honda, the blue Subaru, the kids, the racing line, all perfectly timed, engines screaming the chaos before my fence even got hit. Murmurs spread through the room. The neighbors, usually the most bored and judgmental audience, were suddenly leaning forward, eyes wide. Even Karen's carefully maintained composure cracked, her jaw tightened, and for the first time, she looked unglued. I spoke up calmly, letting it land. So, this isn't just about my fence, right? It's about joyrides, illegal races, and your son thinking he can treat private property like a playground. A few heads nodded. One of the older neighbors muttered, "About time someone said it." Karen's face turned red, then purple, then that weird flush of outrage that makes everyone else uncomfortable. The HOA president tried to interrupt, but Sam, sly as ever, hit play on the next clip rad on the burner phone, communicating with someone off-screen, coordinating the next meet. "This," she said, pointing at the screen, "is the evidence. The fence didn't jump. The Mustang didn't just swerve. This was planned, organized, and your son was at the center of it." Silence. Dead silence. Karen's mouth opened, closed, opened again, trying to find a word, any word that wouldn't sound insane. And then it got better. One of the neighborhood teens, quiet until now, stood. "I recorded some of their phone chatter the other night," he said, holding his own phone up like a trophy. "I didn't want to get involved, but the racing, they were going to do it again." A ripple ran through the crowd. Finally, the reality of how out of control this had gotten was sinking in. Karen tried a last-ditch maneuver, her voice trembling with fury. "You're all witnessing a violation of the HOA rules. The fence, the trespassing, this is unacceptable." I leaned forward, calm as ever, and said, "Karen, the only violation here is the stunt your son pulled. And now, thanks to everyone here, the truth is out." The rest of the meeting dissolved into chaos. Neighbors were whispering, some laughing, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Karen Dawson's perfect image was shattered, and it was delicious to watch. But I wasn't naive. Be back. Oh, she'd come back with fines, letters, probably a full-blown emergency HOA meeting before the month ended. But now we had the proof, the videos, the witness statements, and the community on our side. When meeting finally ended, Sam and I stepped outside. The street was quieter now, a soft evening sun casting long shadows across the driveway where my fence used to stand. The Mustang was gone, towed away, its destruction frozen in everyone's memory. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything: the stress, the fear, the vindication. Sam handed me a coffee. "Not a bad morning," she said, smirking. I let out a laugh, sharp and relieved. "Not bad at all," I said. But then my mind wandered back to that burner phone. The unknown, the other kids, the next stunt waiting to happen. This wasn't over. It never is with people like Karen Dawson. Control, image, power. And Brad, well, the kid had his own agenda, clearly. The HOA might have rules, but in the streets, there are no rules. As we walked back toward the house, the neighbors peeking from behind curtains and hedges like live-action spectators, I realized something. This was more than a fence, more than a car crash. It was a glimpse into the dynamics of this community, the hidden chaos beneath the manicured lawns, the games played under polite smiles, and the lengths some people would go to protect an image. And I had the front row seat, the footage, and the truth on my side. So now, the question wasn't just about rebuilding the fence or dealing with fines. It was about staying ahead of the next curve, predicting the next move in a game I hadn't even realized I was playing. And with Sam by my side, tracking every digital breadcrumb, I felt ready. But I knew one thing for certain. Karen Dawson and her HOA empire were never going to stop. She'd be back. And next time, I hoped she'd be ready for the full force of truth and the neighborhood's eyes. And that's the thing, you never know which quiet suburb holds the next big showdown. One minute it's calm, the next, your front yard's the battleground. So what do you think? Was this just a kid being reckless? Or did Karen and the HOA cross the line? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear what you'd do if you were in my shoes, standing there with the wrecked fence, the racing chaos, and the entire neighborhood watching. Because in moments like this, justice isn't just about rules, it's about who's brave enough to tell the truth.